The museum typology has traditionally relied on the use of sight as a means of communication. However, people with different sets of abilities, such as the blind and partially sighted, will decode their surroundings through alternative sensory capabilities. Therefore, we question, how can the museum experience become democratized to achieve exposure to a broader audience? How can we create an inclusive, educational, and accessible experience for the blind and low vision community? We start by looking at the Sustainable Development Goals in establishing the foundation of our design framework. This, accompanied by a study of visual impairment, will inform our design decisions. A photograph of Christo and Jean-Claude's wrapped coast, displayed in the Coastline exhibition at the Chao Chak Wing Museum, was investigated, deconstructed, and translated into 3 parts. Each part depicts a key idea wrapped coast represents. Part 1 provides insight into the historical and social context of the art installation site, Little Bay. Part 2 conveys the artist's intent in wrapping the coast. And Part 3 portrays the object through a speculative lens, 100 years into the future, where climate change has taken a detrimental toll on our planet.
Little Bay holds historical roots as a quarantine station, nicknamed Tent City, during the smallpox epidemic. However, it has become symbolic of the Australian way of life in recent years, a place of luxury, pleasure, refuge, and retreat. In recent years, the idealistic reputation of Little Bay has been overshadowed by the deaths following shark attacks and rock fishing along the coastline. It provokes a realization of the precarious relationship between man and nature. Over the years, humans' imposition on nature has led to sea levels rising, ocean temperatures increasing, and coastlines eroding. Erosion is a natural process, but human activity makes it happen more quickly. A study on the sculptured rocks along the coastlines reveals dramatic prints where stones are worn away and transported by natural forces. Weathering and erosion slowly chisel, polish, and puff Earth's rock into ever-evolving works of art, and then wash the remains into the sea. Our first proposed object is the 3 walls of erosion. Made out of sand and cement mix, it is a fragile representation of the eroded rocky surface. The visitors walk into the 3-walled space, surrounded by a somewhat collapsing landscape. We encourage touching the cracked concrete forms, where the visitors could feel the irreversible chiseling away of the earthen materials. The imitative experience of weathering is a call for the sense of emergency near our coastal areas.
Christo began his obsession with wrapping in the 60s. He would appropriate everyday objects, depriving them of function and preserving them permanently for posterity. He was obsessed with, above everything, the way wrapping could alter form and texture. Christo and Jean-Claude's wrapped coast stimulates our imagination through concealing the coastline beyond recognition. Their practice of wrapping the entirety of the coast with synthetically woven fiber intended to be erosion-proof can be seen as a means of preserving the topography of Little Bay. Through understanding the artist's intent to protect and preserve, we wondered, however, to what extent do we protect the object before it starts to lose its characteristics and identity? We explored this through our digital study, which examined the draping and netting method observed in Little Bay. Our proposal is a continuation from this study, featuring a series of 7 interactive objects divided into 3 parts: the original model, the draping, and the netting, which are accompanied by braille text and audio commentary. The models are composed of the object itself, draped fabric made from seacell, and nets of natural twine. The selection of these materials aligns with Goal 12 and 13 by using sustainable materials, in contrast to Christo's preference of the synthetic. Users are invited to touch and feel the models, noticing how with more draping and wrapping, the less defined the object becomes. Likewise, noticing how with less tension in the net, the more ambiguous the object becomes. Thus, through this series, users are called to calibrate new perspectives and understandings of the object and their surroundings.
Climate change has led to warmer ocean temperatures, increased sea levels, and erosion of coastlines. 40% of Australian beaches over the next 80 years will be lost. The acceleration of eroding coastlines will lead to major economic loss, threatening $25 billion worth of Australian residential properties. We wonder, how would Christo and John Claude's Rep Coast look 100 years into the future, where the coast itself ceases to exist? The proposal features an immersive and interactive installation, accompanied by audio commentary. The ice melting represents the rapid erosion of the coastline. Users are invited to touch and feel the ice thaw, giving a stronger sense of what is meant by coastal erosion. As the ice melts, a metal frame is left behind. Referencing Little Bay's history as a tent city, the structure lifts the draped fabric above ground, creating a tent-like space that can be occupied underneath. Walking through the installation, a remnant of coldness can be felt on the metal structure. A smoothness of the draped fabric, made from sea cell, is juxtaposed against the roughness of the natural twine rope, changing in tension, reflecting upon the temporal nature of the installation. 100 years into the future, as natural disasters become more erratic and unpredictable, perhaps we'll need to resort to these temporary mobile homes. By creating a speculative installation, an understanding on the consequences of global warming is introduced to the audience, as a warning tale if climate action is not undertaken.
Over time, the liminal space between land and ocean has become a place to witness life or destruction, activity and loss. The proposed objects and installations reflect upon the historical and social context of Little Bay, engaging with the artist's intention. It reinterprets Christo and Jean Claude's wrapped coast through a speculative lens to unsettle the present, to provoke action for our futures. We challenge the museum's reliance on the visual experience and engage with the Sustainable Development Goals to provide inclusive and quality education that is better accessible to the blind, low vision community, and broader audience.